What's up, YouTube? Today, we have a very important thing to discuss, and it's whether or not I'm too old for this hairdo. Just kidding. You'll tell me in the comments anyway. I don't have to ask. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Here I talk about working actor life, and I just recently did a podcast where I broke down booking a co-star role and getting to be on TV and work with Seth MacFarlane. You guys really enjoyed it, so we thought we'd do another one. Today, we are going to break down another booking I got in 2021, because 2021 was a very good year for me. Yes, it sure was. I got married that year too. In fact, that's going to be part of the story. So there's your teaser. We are going to break down my booking of the role of Jasmine on the show Bosch Legacy. If you did not see my previous video and you're an actor who isn't yet involved in the actor world, this might be an exciting thing for you. And if you are someone who is already acting and you see this video, you might think, there goes that girl living in the past, talking about her past bookings. But I really think we can learn something here. I think I can teach and share a few things that might be useful to you guys and to our audience who is not necessarily in the actor world but super curious about it. I think it could open up some information for you too. So let's get into it. Join me as we enter the time machine. We are going to go back to the year 2021. I signed with an agent in January. I booked the Orville in May. I shot it in June. And then I get an audition the 4th of July weekend for my husband's favorite show, my family's favorite show, my in-laws, my parents, they all watch this show, Bosch. But not just Bosch, the new spin-off of Bosch, Bosch Legacy. Titus Welliver is the star. My family's obsessed with Michael Connelly's books. They've all read them, and this series is entirely based on him. And when I saw it was from Bosch, I was like, oh my God, my husband's going to be so excited to work with me on this. So it came in right before 4th of July weekend, but we were already having a party that weekend. We were having our friends over to our pool. Everyone was going to come over. We were going to pool party. We were going to barbecue, do the whole thing. And I remember seeing the audition and thinking, shit, I should probably do this right now, because what if we have the party and then I'm not in a good mood? Or what if I'm thinking about it the whole time? Or what if pew, 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 and my brain just went all over the place. And I was like, you know what, Sam? Because I talk to myself all the time. You don't need to worry about getting this done. You can actually take your time, submit it before the deadline, still have your weekend, and still feel prepared when you do the tape. Because when you get an audition from an agent, if you're not yet in this world, it gives you a timeline. Please turn this tape in by July 6th at noon Pacific time, something to that effect, right? The goal is to use the sides, aka the scene that they sent, or 2, sometimes 3, with the audition request, to film it and send it back for a self-tape. This is the year I started to grow up and grow into myself and realize that if I took my time and didn't try to be the first one to get it in and to just get it done, because that just get it done mentality is something I think a lot of creatives jive with when they're given an assignment. But I'm not in that space anymore. And I would rather do it to its fullest abilities than quote unquote just get it done. So I shelved it. I put it on my calendar for Sunday, and I was going to take Saturday, 4th of July, hang out with my friends, do all the things. We had so much fun that year. We played baseball in the pool with a wiffle ball bat. There were kids from the building who came and played. It was a blast. We stayed up late and grilled out. I think we ended up, my husband even played some cello for us, which he never does. So, you know, he had 2 beers at least. And it was such a fun day and night. And I woke up the next morning and thought, okay, time to film my audition. I worked the sides with my husband because he was so familiar with the show already, which was a huge asset. I watched 1 or 2 of the episodes over that weekend before we had the party, so I knew I was already semi-ready by the time he was discussing it with me. And then we filmed it. We set it up. At the time, I was filming my self-tape on a curtain backdrop with, I think, 1 ring light and my cell phone. And that was it. Very simple setup. And I often defer to that same easy setup now. I just have a paper backdrop instead of a curtain. Sometimes I even film with the empty wall. So, filmed it with my husband. He read the lines with me. We shot it. And I remember filming it. I did a couple things that you are quote unquote not supposed to do. If you saw my last video where I talked about the 4-armed alien waitress role, I did a whole scene. I wore a quote unquote outfit. I had props. I even had a second person in the scene. I played music. That was specific for that scene. For this scene, I didn't need any of those things. All I needed was a magazine. The only thing I used was that one simple prop to give me something to do with my hands, because my character's audition scene was in a nail salon. When are you flipping through magazines? When you're at a nail salon, especially getting a pedicure. It's the only time we do these things anymore. I gave myself that, and I remember finishing taping it and turning to him and saying, I just feel like I didn't really do anything in that. And he said, no, that was exactly what you did, and it's super right for this show. And I said, okay, I trust you.
I love your nail color.
Oh, thanks. I like the gels.
I can't decide between these two. What do you think?
What's the occasion?
Me and my boyfriend are going to Santa Barbara for the weekend.
Nice.
The ranch at San Ysidro.
Very nice. I'd go with the darker one, but that's just me.
What's your occasion?
A homecoming. He's been out of town.
Going someplace special?
Yeah, Republique.
Love that place. Have fun.
Thanks. You too. Turned in the tape. That was July 5th. So July 7th, I get a call from my agent, and I'm going to tell you why I remember these dates in a second. I get a call from my agent, and she says, hey, you are pinned for this role. I will have more information for you probably tomorrow. And I was like, look at me. My career is starting to fly. We'll talk about that. I went on with my day. The next day, July 8th, was my birthday. My friend Tiffany had reached out to me. You might have seen her on the internet. She's Pretty Little Lifters. She's a PE teacher. She's just an awesome overall influencer. And she reached out and she invited me to go stand up paddleboarding that day in the marina. And I said, hell yeah, that's exactly what I want to do for my birthday. She and I went down there early in the morning. And then afterwards we got lunch, and I was sitting at lunch and I was not thinking about that role. I knew that I did my work. I knew that I was having fun on my birthday. It wasn't going to change anything about my day. My agent reaches out. We're sitting at lunch. I look down and I see my phone ring. This could be good or bad. Luckily, Tiffany pulls out her phone to videotape me because she gets the vibe. I pick it up and I say, hi, Brittany. And she says, happy birthday, you're booked. And I was like, yes. And the server came out and he saw the fact that I was dancing around and he said, what happened? And I said, I booked a role. And he said, I'm an actor too. That's awesome. And they brought me a drink because at the time I was drinking and it was super fun. So we ended up having a great day. I went home and then I got to tell my husband I booked it. And getting to tell him that I booked a role on one of his favorite shows was really exciting. The really exciting thing about this role was it was my first recurring role. I was guaranteed to be in at least 2 episodes. And by guaranteed to be in, they mean guaranteed to shoot 2 episodes. You're not guaranteed to actually make the final edit. So I got asked to come to a wardrobe fitting the following week. Before that, hair and makeup texted me and said, hey, can we see a picture of your hair and makeup right now? And I sent them a picture. It was luckily a day that I was filming content. And they said, oh, great. Come to set just like that. I went to my wardrobe fitting later that week and I made a very distinctive choice. And this is one of my biggest tips for you today, is that I did my hair and makeup very similar to how I looked in my audition for my wardrobe fitting. This character of Jasmine was essentially a trophy girlfriend. She was eye candy. She was supposed to be like the hot young thing. That's cool. I'll play that role all day long. So I knew that if I auditioned with hair down and ready and makeup on, but if I showed up to wardrobe fitting in no makeup and a scrunchy ponytail, that the clothes they put on me would look different because I wasn't put together like the character would eventually be. So I made the very distinctive choice to get ready for my wardrobe fitting. In that wardrobe fitting, when I was trying on clothes, the head of the wardrobe department said, thank you so much for coming so put together. It makes it so much easier for us to see the look and to sell it to producers. Because what they do is they have you try on different looks. They take photos with their phone. It used to be like Polaroids and stuff, but thank God we're past that. They would take photos and then they just shoot them off to production to get your outfits approved. And they said this was so much easier because we could see you exactly how the character is going to be. And I said, thank you so much. That was a very distinctive choice. And they were like, you're great. And I was like, you're great. And then I was like, let's be friends forever. And we haven't talked since. But that's fine because that's how this business works. It was a great wardrobe fitting. Also, secondary hot tip on this, I wore a nude bra and a nude thong. This way, anything they put on me, you could see what it would look like with or without those things. And we did a mishmash of different outfits. While I was there for the wardrobe fitting, they called me outside because the character that I was playing had a boyfriend. This boyfriend was a very rich guy. He drove a McLaren. So I was like, this is a pretty car. And they were like, thanks, it's a big fucking deal. And I was like, cool. It's a really nice car. The thing is, it's a very low riding car. And in the scenes, at least one, if not two scenes, I needed to get in and get out of the car and possibly on camera. So they put me in my outfit, they put me in my heels, and I practiced getting into and out of a car. It sounds really silly, but when the car is about 4 inches off the ground and you're wearing 5-inch heels and you don't want to open the door and crawl out like a monster coming out of the sewer when you need to look like a really beautiful woman exiting a vehicle that's so low to the ground, it's harder than it sounds. Practiced that a few times in the heels, in the outfit, got the good to go, went back inside, changed back into my clothes. They said thank you so much, and I was on my way. We solidified, I believe, 2 outfits in that day because at the time that was the only episodes that I was going to be in. I then went home. After I went home, I think I had a day or two before I actually went back to set. At the time, 2021, lots of COVID testing in between, driving to the COVID point, getting that Q-tip, got paid for every COVID test. This one was cool because it's a drive-through. So I was just like, thanks for the money. It was a wild time. So a few days later, I'm waiting the night before for when I'm going to go to set. And this is something nobody really tells you. Call sheets, which is the email you get with the times and where you need to be on set, often comes in late night the night before. It often makes sense for that to happen for the people who are on set every day, for the series regulars, for the hair and makeup, because they're there on set with the producers and with the schedulers and everyone who's making all the decisions. And they can say, hey, your call time tomorrow is going to be 7 when they're leaving. But for the rest of us who are just day players who are coming in for a day or two, we are often last people to get emailed because they have to solidify everybody else first. And we'll often be the first people called in because they'd rather have us early, get us ready, and then have us hold at their earliest convenience, than have the stars come in and get ready early because they are in every scene. They need to sleep and rest and be ready. Whereas we are just there for a day or two. They can call me in super early. And that's exactly what happened. The night before, it's 7 o'clock. I usually go to bed around 9. At that time, I think it was closer to 10. Very important information. They called, said, we'd like to have you come in tomorrow at 3:30. And I said, okay, you got it. And then I did my best to go to bed and get as much sleep as possible. But I was so excited and I was so wired that I don't think I slept very well. But I absolutely was on set at 3:30 in the morning, ready to fucking roll. It's stressful enough to need to turn around and show up on set at 3:30 in the morning. So you really need people in your corner and supporting you as much as possible. So my husband changed his day. How is he going to go get to his clients' places because he's a personal trainer? How are we going to facilitate the day with the dogs? All of those logistics are done on like a very back end, very quick turnaround time schedule. And this is part of the reason that you want partners and people in your life who are supportive of this job, because he did what he needed to do so that the dogs were taken care of, so that he and his clients were taken care of. And I was off. Showed up on set, 3:30, was sat in my trailer, was brought breakfast, which is rad. If someone offers to bring you breakfast on set, just say yes. But if someone offers, hey, we'd like to bring you some breakfast, great. I would love a cup of coffee with some oat milk, and I would love some eggs. Thank you so much. Boom, boom, done. Like, live in the character that day. Be on set. Take your space. Don't be an asshole about it. Please, thank you. I appreciate you. Be simple. Don't ask for like 17 add-ins and fixtures. If you want all that stuff, go get it yourself or bring it from home. If they're like, hey, breakfast is that way, cool, go get it yourself. But if someone says, I'd like to bring you a coffee, thank you so much. I would love a coffee. Don't belittle yourself. Now, set, breakfast, brought into hair and makeup. They gave me all the eye patches in the world. And they said, here, wear these. I put on the gold eye patches. I think I have a photo from it. And I wore them in my trailer, and they set my hair so it would have waves. And they didn't realize that I have the easiest curling hair in the world, but that's fine. And I was in my trailer and I was ice rolling my face and wearing my under eye patches. And I was like, this is what it feels like to be a celebrity. And then I finally went back to hair and makeup after I put on my wardrobe, which was hanging in my, I got dressed. And now it's like 6 a.m. maybe 6:30, and I'm dressed and I'm getting my hair and makeup done. And the lead of the show, Titus, was next to me in hair and makeup. And he was kind enough to introduce himself and say good morning. If you are given the opportunity to be around the stars of the show and they are taking the time to make the set nice for you, I just want to drive home to you guys how important that is and how lovely it is. It shows to me how I want to be when I'm number one on the call sheet. It sets the precedent that this is a lovely place where everyone is open and chill. And that sets the tone for the whole day, and it gets work done better, and it really sets things in motion. And he is a top level actor who's been in so many projects, and he's number one on the call sheet. He's also an executive producer of this show. It only behooves him to be so kind on set, but it just makes you feel so special. So thank you to him. And if you're someone else who's watching this who happens to be number one on a call sheet, number one, call me. Number two, set the tone for everyone else behind you. It makes a huge difference. He was lovely. I felt very at home. Hair and makeup was great. They put me all together like 7:30, and then I was sent back to my trailer, and then I waited for 6 hours. This is the stuff they don't tell you what to do. I was like, well, I can't lay down because my hair is so nice and done. And I didn't have things to do. I think I brought my phone and a charger and all that stuff. I wish I would have brought a book. I knew my scene with lines was going to be towards the end of the day. I had a bunch of time to kill, and I didn't know it. That's the weird thing about being on set, is sometimes you're in their trailer for like 5 seconds and they're like, okay, great, let's go to set. And then you get in a van and then you go across town or wherever it is and they take you to shoot. And then sometimes they're like, okay, great, we'll pull you in a few. And then a few is a few hours, and you just don't know. They were filming on the side of a street in the hills, and it was complicated to get there. They had to move a lot of people to and from set. And so I was just holding. This was the coolest day, because while I was sitting there holding, I had 2 auditions come in. I was like, this is my life. I'm a superstar. I didn't book those, but I thought it was so cool. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know if I should be working on these auditions while I'm here for this character. And I remember, I think I just skimmed them because one of them had a 24-hour turnaround, which was a lot. And then one of them was a commercial audition that I knew I could do the next day when I wasn't on set. So I had to make some interesting decisions, and that's something we should talk about at some point, is the mindset and staying where you are and staying present, but also not being like fight or flight mode. Because when someone comes and knocks on your door, PA, you want to be like, oh, I'm ready, I'm good, you can take me anywhere. And it's like, yo, you're just going to go get in and out of a car from a drone camera. You good. That was an interesting experience that I had never had before. And I took my time. I very much took my time in there. And I knew my lines already. I texted a few people. I took a ton of photos of myself, because what else do you do? And I probably would have done it a little bit differently today, but I'm still okay with the choices I made at the time. So hours later, I think I had a lunch break somewhere in there. So I hadn't even done anything yet. And I had breakfast and I had lunch. And then finally they put me in a Sprinter van. So I was in a van on the way to set, going to film with my boyfriend, quote unquote, the character who was playing my boyfriend. And I turned around and I said, hi, are you Michael? And the actor behind me was like, yeah, Michael Rose, nice to meet you. And I was like, hi, I'm Sam, I'm gonna be playing your girlfriend. So that's how that shit happens. You are instantly thrown into these scenes and you get very little time to develop, unless you're a very, very important person in the show. But I met him in the moments before we started shooting. And it was like instantly like, whoop. Luckily we didn't have any sort of connection scene off the top, but it was definitely instantly a scene where we needed to show up and be quote unquote a couple. So he was lovely. We had a chat in the car. We ended up going up all these windy roads in the hills. It was like crazy. Got out to where we were filming. They put us in the McLaren and had us practice. He got to drive it, which was cool. And I was sitting shotgun. And then they introduced us to our dog. This was the first time I've ever had a trained dog on set, and his name was Falcor. I actually had to look up Michael Rose's name to remember who my boyfriend was, but I can tell you that the dog's name was Falcor, and this is a picture of Falcor. Isn't he handsome? So they introduced us to him. They went over his blocking because Michael had to carry treats in his pocket so that the dog would run out of the quote unquote garage of our fancy house to him. Then we would both exit the car and go inside. That was the whole shot. There were no lines, so we weren't mic'd or anything like that. And we filmed that probably 6 or 8 times. The dog at first kind of struggled. Michael had to get him to come to him, and he was new. It was a whole situation. So we dealt with the dog. The dog needed ample breaks, which I love. And we got all that shot and done. Then they put us in holding, and they're like, wait here. We're going to see if we want any more shots from in this house. A couple hours later, they released us back to our trailers, and then we ate. Once again, eating. It was COVID. It was weird. You ate in your trailer alone a lot. We ate and then back to our trailers if we weren't already in them. And then I waited again. A lot of times when you are a smaller character in a show, you are going to be the first and or last person to shoot. And that day I was one of the first and I was the very last. They shot out, meaning they got done with the scenes with all of the series regulars first, and then the scenes with those of us who were just day players, they saved for last because of where they were at and their schedule. And it just makes sense to have us there and get the stars to go home and get some rest, because they have another 16-hour day tomorrow. So we shot my last scene and the very last part of the day. At this point, it is 6 p.m. I've been there since 3:30 in the morning. I'm holding on. And of course, it was my scene with the most dialogue. We made it work. We made it work. It was a scene in a nail salon. It was myself talking to an actress named Zaria, who is actually now in the new Pretty Little Liars. She was very kind and very sweet. We worked together. We did this scene. We did it a couple of times. We were on. We did the damn thing. We wrapped for the day.
I love your nail color.
Thank you. I like the gel.
Can't decide between these two. What do you think?
What's the occasion?
Me and my boyfriend are going to Santa Barbara for the weekend.
Nice.
The ranch at San Ysidro.
Very nice. I'd go with the darker one, but that's just me.
What's your occasion?
A homecoming. He's been out of town.
Going someplace special?
Republic.
Love that place. Have fun.
You too. They took us back to our trailers and they said, okay, great, we'll let you know when we need you again. And then I was sent home. And that was it. That was that whole day on set. I ended up coming back for that shoot 3 more times, including one day that they moved after my wedding. I got married in September. This show shot between the end of July and through September. They wanted me to come back for another day as this character the week of my wedding. And my agent called me and said, hey, this is what they're asking. And I said, yeah, so I can't do that. I will be back in town on Thursday evening. I'll be driving back from Colorado, 16-hour drive, 18 with dogs. And that's the best I can do. And they said, okay, all right, we'll see what we can do. If not, no worries. And that was hard for me to swallow. It was hard for me to consider I was maybe going to only get these 2 episodes and not the 3rd. They got back to me right before we left for our wedding and they said, hey, we'll make it work. What? Me? This tiny character in this massive world you built, you want to make it work? Okay, cool. So here's what happened. They moved my shoot day to the very end of that week. My husband and I drove home on Thursday. They wanted my shoot day on Friday. If you guys remember, I said in that video I did about the Seth MacFarlane Orville booking, COVID testing, you had to test negative 3 times. So you had to test negative 2 days before shooting and then the day of shooting. How was I going to do that? I was driving in the night before. Production arranged for me to go to a local pharmacy in the town where I got married, which was Salida, Colorado. It's tiny. It's in the mountains. They found me a local pharmacy, which also happened to be a soda pop shop. I love that town. They found me a local pharmacy. They set up a time for me to COVID test. The next day, when my husband and I drove home, they had a COVID concierge meet me at my condo after we arrived back home from this road trip, COVID test me in my lobby, and then the next day I was allowed to be on set. They did my wardrobe fitting on the day in my trailer, and then I went and shot my final episode of the show. And the script was so good, and it's one of my favorite scenes I've ever filmed, and I had just come off this wild ride of getting married and partying and having so much fun with my friends, and they made it fit so I could do both. That's not always the case. It's not always going to happen that way. But it was so cool to see a production make things work and bend over backwards so that I could be in this last episode. They could have written me out. They could have done it a different way, but they really made it work. And sure, it could have been because they wanted this character to be seen one more time, or it could have been because when I was on set, I did a good job and I was really great to work with. I met some of the writers. I told them great work. I told them how big a fan my whole family was. And I was just genuinely lovely. I kind of think it made a difference. Me thinking I was rewarded for good behavior, if that's inaccurate and they just really needed this last scene, cool. but I like to think that it made a huge difference. That show came out in May of the following year, and it is some of my favorite footage I have on my reel to this day.
I haven't seen Carl in days.
Be precise.
Tuesday night, we had dinner at Jar.
Nothing since.
Son of a bitch hasn't answered my calls or my texts.
I don't believe.
Check it if you don't believe me.
Pretty girls always think they have benefit of doubt.
But not always.
You love your parents.
Yes.
Joe. Diane. Dana Point.
I swear, I don't know where he is. Please.
Cockroach doesn't deserve you.
We crush him for you.
Following that booking, I wasn't on a theatrical set for a very long time. And I think that's something that's interesting to note here. I did a great job. I had 2 bookings in the same summer. It was awesome. From the outset, it looked like I was working nonstop, but I wasn't. It was still a great year. But after that recurring role, I hit a really slow slump. And that's okay. It's okay. It's so normal. And my brain wanted to tell me it's because you broke the spell. You ruined it. Whatever juju you had that was really good, it's gone. You're not going to do it anymore. That was your last role. That's what our brains always want to tell us. And we can go into a whole separate mindset video at a different time. But I don't think that's what happened. I think I had a brilliant experience. I'm so excited to be able to share it with you guys too. And I hope that you were able to learn something from it. And I can't wait for my next theatrical booking so I can share it with you too. If you guys like this kind of stuff, please comment below and let me know. I would love if you would subscribe to this channel and maybe share this video with a friend. Sharing stuff really, really helps us grow, which makes me want to make more stuff for you and explain and open my doors to my working actor life. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon.